Well, hello. Hello, everybody. My name is Katie. I am the brand director here at Offshoot Beer Co. in the brewery. I might be a new face to some of you, unless you've been in the tap room recently. I've been with the team for about 3 months now. One of my favorite things about this job here is that at the end of the day, especially on a Friday, especially at the end of American Craft Beer Week, a bunch of our coworkers will get together and just enjoy some beers together. And that's exactly what this is all about. We're just doing it virtually. So we're going to bring in some friends. And I think to kick it off, we're going to bring in a fellow marketing coworker. He is the pastry king and expert and has a great head of hair. And this is Connor. And we're going to bring in Connor here.
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going, Connor?
Good. I do have a lot of hair going right now.
Yeah, you've got the luscious mane. So, Connor, let's tell everybody what you do around here.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I'm Connor, senior manager, e-commerce. Kind of handle the back end of the website, making sure that that things are available for our members, for the public. The beer everybody wants to buy, beer everybody's looking for. Just try and make sure it's up there and available to them, among other marketing responsibilities and sales planning and stuff of that nature. The dry stuff nobody wants to hear about.
And virtual happy hours.
And virtual happy hours, of course.
And Connor, in honor of American Craft Beer Week, I'm asking everybody, what was your foray into craft beer? What was the first craft beer you ever had?
Yeah, so I guess it depends on if you consider it craft beer or not. Technically it is, but some people debate it. Yuengling was definitely my first kind of craft beer that I was drinking. If you don't want to count Yuengling, it's probably a Stone beer. I think like a lot of people, Stone is kind of one of the things that first gets you into it. So either Yuengling or Stone, take your pick.
Nice. Good options. Oh, and I forgot to share mine. I went to school in Atlanta, so Sweetwater 420 was my first sip of craft, of course, as soon as I turned 21. So that was mine.
Yeah, mine, of course, was 21 as well.
Absolutely.
But I went to college in South Carolina, and it happened to be, my freshman year happened to be the exact year that Yuengling started distributing to South Carolina.
Nice.
So it was everywhere. Everybody was drinking it.
Heck yeah. Awesome. So let's bring in some more friends. Who do you think we should bring in next, Connor?
Oh man, I don't know. How about Megan? I know she's itching to talk about some boysenberries.
Heck yeah. All right. So Megan is our warehouse expert. So let's bring in Megan. Hey. Oh.
I think you're muted.
Unmute my mic. Critical. I'm Megan, and I unmuted my mic, and I am the warehouse expert. Yeah, and I know a lot about boysenberries because it turns out I grew up growing boysenberries. My dad kind of was into farming, and he grew up in the Anaheim, Fullerton area, and he was like fascinated with Knott's Berry Farm, and he encouraged me to have a boysenberry patch in our backyard. And I kind of have gone full nerd about boysenberries. So whenever the group is ready, maybe after a few more drinks, I'm ready to give the drunk history, like full facts about boysenberry.
Love it. Love it. Just drunk history / Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Own personal experience about several failed attempts at growing boysenberries. It was a disaster. I have never succeeded in it. So,
and so because it is American Craft Beer Week, Megan, we have to know, what was your first craft beer that you ever had?
Well, a California classic, the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I think that's probably a lot of our first, it's hoppy, it's crisp, it's a California classic. You can't go wrong with it.
That's a good one.
It's a good one.
Who do you think we should bring in next, Megan?
I am really excited to bring in a new face, my friend Shreyas.
Heck yeah, let's bring in Shreyas. Hey,
hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good. It's Friday, so can't complain really.
Awesome. So Shreyas, tell us about yourself. What do you do around here?
I'm an assistant brewer, and currently I work at Teru, which is where we do all of our interesting sour beers. Yeah, I've been with the company since about January now, and it's been an amazing 4 months, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Awesome. And I know the answer to this because we got onboarded at the exact same time.
We did.
But Shreyas, tell us all in honor of American Craft Beer Week what your first craft beer was.
So I went to school up in Michigan. My first craft beer was the Two Hearted Ale by Bell's. And to this day, it is still one of my favorite beers. I'll have it anytime I can get my hands on it. And yeah, it's probably still one of the best IPAs I've ever had. And
absolutely. Yeah, definitely a lot of our favorites for sure. And then I think we've got one more that we want to bring on. So let's bring on our quality expert, Dustin.
Yep.
Hey, Dustin, how's it going?
It's good. Like Shrey said, it's Friday, so happy to be here. Happy to be off work. But yeah.
Heck yeah. And you've got an interesting, I just have to ask for the sake of the audience, an interesting background there. What's going on?
So that's my very somber Grumpy Cat painting. It's like a nice shade of blue, kind of what I imagine that cat was feeling when that became famous in a meme. So one of my favorite memes.
Did you paint this or did this just exist and you purchased it?
No, a friend painted that for me. So
Wow.
and I've had it for several years now. So
very nice.
Treasured painting.
So for the sake of the audience, why don't you tell us what you do around here? And then we're going to ask what your first craft beer was.
Cool. So I'm the quality manager at the brewery. I'm responsible for all testing of the beer and the testing plan. And then I do a lot of support for process improvements in other departments and try to lend support wherever I can. So a lot of what I do is just planning yeast and, trying to make packaging more efficient and get the beer to the consumers as it's intended to be tasted. So
awesome. Yeah, all very important stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess let's get into this. What's everyone drinking out there?
Oh man, you caught me in the middle of double fisting. I actually am finishing drifting and moving on to Recolor My Bach.
Nice.
I got two going right now.
That's how we roll. Yeah, I personally started off with drifting. This is without a doubt the beer that I've been reaching for every time I go to the tasting room. This is our newest distributed seasonal from Offshoot Beer Co. It's a pale ale, super crisp, refreshing, 5.5% ABV, so definitely sessionable. So this is obviously where I wanted to start my night. What about you guys? Who else is drinking drifting?
Also drifting.
Also drifting. We're all drifting, baby.
Yeah. And why did you reach for that one first, Megan?
Well, I actually just finished an Offshoot 4 because our Offshoot 4 featured artwork from all of our employees, and it's been taken away at this point. But so I started to get in the employee spirit. But at this point, the drifting really called to me because it is my favorite. Just when you're reaching for a nice, easy, like West Coast, like a pale ale that you want something hoppy, but you don't want something that's going to like overwhelm those taste buds. Still sessionable. That's what you reach for. So I find myself constantly reaching.
Yeah, it reminds me of, Megan, you were talking about earlier that you first got into beer with like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. It kind of reminds me of like a really classic California Pale Ale. It's
exactly
kind of in that same vein. It's great.
Yeah, and the start of this beer actually came around last year. Our brewers were, it was a terroir project with Virgil Gamache Farms. They did kind of a side-by-side comparison with 5 different regions of Amarillo hops to find the best blend for this beer. And so this is the result of that, finding the best Amarillo hops. And it just turned out amazing. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this beer for the rest of the summer, and then stay tuned for more of it next year too.
Very good.
And we have a couple other hoppy beers that we released this month. Offshoot, every month we do have some more experimental beers that come out, 2 at the beginning of each month. And this month's beers were called Better Together and Just the Two of Us. And they were partnerships with hop farmers, and just Better Together, which I've got right here. Really delicious. Haven't cracked into it yet, but that's a West Coast style IPA. That was a partnership with Crosby Hop Farms and B&D Farms, and really highlighting the Centennial hop. That one sits around 6.7% ABV. Really delicious. I'm looking forward to cracking into the one I have here. And then Just the Two of Us was another partnership with Virgil Gamache Farms, and that's a double dry hopped double IPA. He sits around 8.4% ABV, and that's a celebration of Amarillo hops and bringing in some Sonnet as well.
Yeah, and that was continuing the partnership too with Virgil Gamache, because we did Better Together with them last year, a different version of Better Together. But it's weird, I didn't even think about it, but this pack has 2 beers in it that were like event beers from last year that obviously didn't end up going to the events they were intended for. Because Better Together was CBC, and then the Bakery Boysenberry originally was for Knott's Berry Farm Boysenberry
Right.
Fest. So kind of interesting that we brought these beers back and they happen to be the same time.
Well, I think we're all ready to start celebrating again and getting back to events. Sure. So it's time to start talking these beers up. And speaking of, events that didn't happen last year that we will be having this year, we do have our anniversary creeping up. We're going to be celebrating that in July, and I'll have some more details for us later on. One of the exciting things that we're going to have later on in this conversation, if you stick around with us, we're going to have a couple trivia questions for the group, for the audience at the end of this. And if you answer questions correctly, you'll be entered into a raffle to win a pair of tickets to one of our anniversary sessions. So really exciting. You can't get those yet. So get it here first.
2 tickets.
2. So really excited about that. But we're just excited, honestly, internally to all get together again to celebrate, because last year, obviously, we weren't able to do it in person. So stoked to see that come together. Has anyone cracked open one of the Better Together or Just the Two of Us yet?
Not yet.
Megan's on it.
There we
Heck
go.
yeah. And how's that drinking?
It's nice. It's juicy. It's hazy. It's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we only brew the best, so.
At least that's what we release. You'll never know if we didn't brew our best.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, speaking of brewing the best, Dustin, do you want to speak a little bit to our quality program here and how we keep an eye on our beers and make sure we're only sending out the best?
Yeah, so we've got a really rigorous process. I think the part that's really cool about this Better Together beer is we actually brew it with our London 3 yeast. Typically that's reserved for like hazy New England IPAs, but we're actually marketing this one as a West Coast IPA. So we do centrifuge it. What ends up happening is you get like a lot of those fruity esters that yeast naturally produces, but a little less of the mouthfeel that you would normally get from like a New England IPA. So it's kind of a unique like take on the style, and that you get some cool stuff in the flavor from it. But yeah. So I guess as far as like ensuring like quality assurance for the consumer, like with this being a heavily hop forward beer, like oxygen is a huge issue on the packaging line. So like we've been making a lot of strides and like trying to keep those numbers as low as possible, but testing them in every hour and making sure we're really getting the right fills. Yeah, so we test that through sensory daily, and it's pretty apparent, what oxygen can do to hops. So we try very hard to keep that number as low as possible.
And from what I've seen, again, I'm new to this team, and it really is incredible to watch Dustin and his team just knock the quality out of the park on this. We really are looking at the beers daily, and doing a deep dive on them weekly, and just keeping the best product on the shelf. Is so important to us, and it's really something that stands out about the brewery and Offshoot Beer Co. to me. That quality before everything else is really one of our tenets.
Yeah, and it's not just sensory ahead of time too. There's a lot that goes into stability testing and seeing how these beers, last on a store shelf or whatever it happens to be. Seeing what age does to these things. Customers like to age a lot of these beers, maybe not the IPAs, but some of the other stuff, and we like to know what that does as well. So it's kind of, constantly tasting these things years after they've been released is interesting. It's fun.
I guess just to add to that, so we do sensory taste even punished IPAs up to 6 months. So we intentionally put them through just the worst conditions and kind of monitor how they're doing. And then like our heavy stouts, we'll monitor on a frequent basis up to a year, and then a little less frequent after that, up to about 3 years. So just to make sure that they're still doing what we think they're doing and that nothing has happened that we're not aware of.
And how particular do we get with things? When do we decide something is out of spec for our standards?
We have pretty rigorous specifications while the beer is in-house. It does get a little bit more gray once it leaves the building. We do try to pull back any beer that fails our sensory program. So anything that falls below a 3 on a scale of 1 to 5, and that's generally across 5 tasters. So it has to be pretty verified. But usually everyone's pretty aligned on something when we need to pull it, and we do so pretty quick.
Absolutely. And this is a group of perfectionists. So, a 3 out of 5, we're really, trying to get the best we can out there. Mm-hmm. So one thing I wanted to bring up, so Shreyas, you have some experience with hops in your past. Do you want to talk a little bit about your past history in the hop farm?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was actually like, I finally turned 21 last year, and I was really excited to get a brewing internship somewhere in the US. It was my last year of school, and I was just like looking really hard for somewhere to brew, because I strongly believe that the US has some of the best craft beer in the world, and I wanted to get in on that. And I started applying for all these internships, but I don't know if you guys know about this, but a pandemic hit last March, and
what?
Yeah, so, obviously none of that worked out then, and somehow I ended up hearing about Yakima Chief, and I'd never heard about them before, and I found an internship with Yakima Chief Ranches, and I was able to be a quality assurance intern with them, which basically meant we would be walking along each row in every hop field and inspecting the plants for like mold or mildew, or even like cutting down male plants in the fields, and just working really closely with hops all the way from conceptualization to watching them grow and getting them completely ready for harvest. It was really cool because Yakima Chief Ranches is the research and development division for Yakima Chief hops. So yeah, like we'd come up with all these new hops, like by collecting pollen from one male hop that we like trying to create new crosses, and it was just a really interesting process.
That's
and I guess
so cool.
It being American Craft Beer Week is a good time to talk about this, because I feel like that's what really sets American craft beer apart, is the sheer amount of pride people have in their work here, whether you're a brewer or a quality manager or like a hop farmer. Like anyone in the industry is just they take so much pride in what they do, and they're really passionate about it, and that truly shows in the quality of the product you get. So yeah, and I do believe that like a good IPA starts all the way from when your hop plant starts growing, because quality doesn't start when you can your beer or when you brew your beer. It starts all the way back there in the fields, and it was just really cool to be able to get an insight into that and to be part of that for one summer.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
At 21, he knows more than all of us combined.
Amen.
Cheers, Shreyas.
Yeah, Shreyas is such an awesome addition to the team. And like he said, you know, passion is such a key part of this industry and why we're all in it. That and, you know, the big bucks that we're all making. You know, it really is an industry where we all are passionate in our own ways. And I think that's so cool. It does look like we've got some visitors. Speaking of hops, we have our production team up in Oregon with Crosby Hop Farms. So we're going to bring in Darren, our VP of Operations. Hey, Darren, how's it going?
On the farm.
Hey, everybody. It's going pretty good. I'm here with Zach from Crosby Hop Farm, and we're enjoying a couple of fine beers this afternoon at the Top Wire Hop Project, which I'll let Zach talk a little bit more about what that is. But first, you know, check out that view. What else do you want?
Not bad.
We trained Centennials right behind us. I believe that's Centennial Field, right?
Yeah, we're surrounded by a field of Centennial.
So I guess maybe Zach, you know, kind of tell everybody a little bit about what we're doing up here and Top Wire Hop Project and the whole spiel.
Sure. So I got the ask from Darren of, hey man, like there are so many people have seen what hop farms look like in August. You know, what is it? Can we tell the story of what it's like in May? Things are way different, as we just shown. Hops aren't 18 feet tall yet. They're about more like 18 inches, right? And so there's a different story to tell here around agriculture, around investment of where the farm is going, where our money is going towards, soil health, terroir, all that goes in here. And for a brewer to reach out and ask to see the farm now versus wanting to go out in the glorious time, which is harvest, August, September, it's humbling and it's been really exciting for us. We said, hell yeah, come on out. Honestly, we haven't had someone visit the farm in like a year. So it feels like we were so excited to have someone come visit us. Someone that also brings beer. So that's like the best guest you could really have.
Because we don't know how to get it here any other way.
Yeah, there's a story there about an overnight drive. Yeah, we can get into that. So,
That's a story.
Folks I see know what I'm talking about. But it worked out. And so we ended up having a tap takeover here at Top Wire. Top Wire is a beer garden we built on our farm. So we have a 600-acre hop farm in Willamette Valley, Oregon. Those of us that worked here were always looking for a place to go drinking in Woodburn, have a beer after work. And there were some spots, but nothing that maybe fully checked the bill. And so we said, what if we built a spot on our farm? We kind of pieced out about 2 acres, about an acre and a half. And started building out plans to build a beer garden in a hop farm, surrounded on all sides by Centennial hops. And the goal here was to ultimately tell the full story of the life cycle of a hop. Started out as something kind of selfishly just for us, but turned into a great place to host our customers and brewers from all over the world to be sitting in a hop yard and drinking beer. And then we decided, you know, this is going to be even better when we open this up to craft beer fans around the country, around the world. If you can make it out to Woodburn, Oregon, about 45 minutes south of Portland, stay in Portland, take a trip down to Woodburn, you can really kind of see behind the veil, if you will, pull back the veil that is the hop industry and see what the life cycle of a hop really is, and enjoy some kind of like the best connection I'd say to this would be the idea of being at a winery and drinking estate-grown wines on the actual land that the grapes are grown. It's that experience, but for beer, and that didn't exist anywhere else. So we decided to make it, and these guys have been here since 10 a.m. I won't say how many beers have been drank since 10 a.m., but the right now it has been a wonderful day, and they've been awesome guests, and I hope they come back multiple times before we even kick off.
And I think, you know, I'll also kind of throw out, we've also done some interesting things, you know, because I know you're on this happy hour, you're talking about a number of different beers that, you know, for folks that the brewery does, but we also rubbed and looked at some aged hops today for some of our goose and lambic style beers, and that's pretty different as well. Something we talked about, not not the normal things that I think we're looking at when they come up here, but we had the opportunity to look at that as well. And yeah, I don't know. Any other quick questions before we turn it back to your regularly scheduled program?
Well, I do have to ask, because we've been asking everyone in the chat in honor of American Craft Beer Week, what was your first craft beer that you ever consumed? Of course, right as soon as you turned 21.
Of course, when you're 21.
Yeah.
Of course.
I don't know that I know what my first beer was, but I do know that I grew up in Pennsylvania and always a big fan of Trogs. We're actually talking about Nugget today, but they do a great beer called Nugget Nectar, which is really neat beer and with a potentially really underrated hop. So I like that. I remember that. Victory also. I don't know which one was actually first, but
I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I did not grow up in hop country. So mine was a beer called Sweetwater Georgia Brown. That was the first craft beer I ever had. And I was, we'll call it 21 when I first had that.
We all were.
Me, and, I was
Of course.
Georgia Brown IPA and never looked back. And here I am sitting on a hop yard drinking beer.
That's awesome. Sweetwater was also my first, so excellent.
Yep.
Which one? 420 or something?
420.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you guys look like you are in a real, upsetting setting. Not a cloud in the sky, nice breezy day.
You've been working so hard. It's make sure they get back to the team at the brewery. These guys have been working so hard today. It's been
They look like they're
amazing.
suffering.
They're earning their paychecks. I know that. It's tough.
I've been following the stories. A lot of hop smelling, so it looks like work's getting done.
I would say so.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I would just encourage anyone who's has the opportunity to kind of creep around up here and check out Topwire Hop Project. Hopwire.
Top.
Yeah, but it's it's a really neat spot, and I don't know if I could imagine being anywhere better for American Craft Beer Week.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Right.
Well, thank you guys for hopping on and joining us.
Of course.
Back to work, I guess.
Yeah, back to work, of course.
One final view.
Oh man,
The suffering.
can't be beat.
Beautiful.
All right.
Thanks, Darren and Zach.
Have fun,
Have a
everybody.
good
Thank
one.
you.
See you later.
Cheers.
Working hard.
Yeah. I mean, granted, the rest of us are sitting in sunny Southern
Of
California, so no one's got a bad view right now, but definitely a little jealous of that one.
Man.
So does anyone have any hop questions that they want to throw in the mix? I'm about to crack open the Better Together, which again was a partnership with Crosby Hops. So if there are any hop questions that we want to throw in the chat.
I did see somebody was asking what the difference was between Better Together this year and last year, and I think they are different beers, especially the hops are different, but also it's just kind of reusing the name of the project, as in it's a fun experiment with the actual source itself. So Better Together, I think last year was Virgil Gamache Farms and Crosby, who Virgil Gamache we did just the two of us this year with, and Better Together this year obviously is Crosby again, but B&D Farms. So some other hop selectors and I think that this year it's a West Coast with I think Centennial's the main thing. Last year I believe it was a hazy. Or it might have been a West Coast as well, but I don't remember the hop. I don't think Centennial was the main
Still
one.
a West Coast. Last year, the hop was primarily Amarillo.
Oh, there we go.
Did you look that up, or did you just know that?
I looked it up. Yeah, yeah. I wasn't here last year for that, so I know it's in this year's, but I do have all of that at my fingertips. So.
Yeah, it was also supposed to be like I mentioned it earlier, but it was supposed to be like the kind of welcome beer for all the attendees for CBC last year. And that's what we originally made it for.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think it's time. I think it's time to get into some pastry boys. And I will defer to our pastry expert here.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I need to crack open a boysenberry right now. I haven't tried this year's yet, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so in the virtual happy hour pack, we included kind of a vertical of our bakery releases. We've got our bakery sticky bun, bakery coconut macaroon, and then our newest release coming out now, our bakery boysenberry pie. All of them very nostalgic, heartwarming flavors, and it's basically like a slice of pie in a can. So Connor, our pastry enthusiast, do you want to talk us through that one?
Yeah, sure. So, bakery's been a very popular series for us. I think the first time we did it was like 2018. It was the original coconut macaroon, and it was kind of our first foray into like pastry stouts. Before that, we're the brewery. We've always been known for big, bold, barrel-aged stouts, and we wanted to come up with something that was maybe a little easier drinking. We have our easy drinking Black Tuesday, which is so happens it's Tuesday, but that's still like 16%. So looking for something that we could have fun with, and pastry stouts have become more and more popular over the last few years. So we kind of landed on that. It's a great blended stout. We wanted to keep, we're the brewery, so we wanted to keep that high ABV and keep that barrel component to it. So we brewed, our pastry stout base and then blended that in with some of our barrel aged stouts. Usually it's Black Tuesday that gets added to the mix along with the adjuncts. I think they've all pretty much been down that same road except for Banana Bread. Banana Bread, I think, had some Weizenbach in the mix just for the flavors we were going for. But yeah, it's usually our pastry stout base along with some Black Tuesday and then loaded up with flavors. So coconut macaroons in this pack, which is really popular. Sticky bun was our, I guess, Q1 release. So it's a pretty new one as well. And it's been really popular. And then, of course, boysenberry came out this month. Like I said earlier, we brewed it the first time last year, and it was supposed to be, it wasn't even our beer to sell. We were making it all basically for Knott's Berry Farm Boysenberry Fest, and it was going to be like exclusive to that event. If you wanted to try that beer, you had to go to it, and of course, it didn't end up happening. And so we poured through it in our tasting rooms. We did some crowlers online, so some people have probably tried it. But yeah, this is our first kind of, the feedback on it was really good, so we decided to do it again this year, scale it up, and just go all out, make it one of our seasonal bakery releases. And I'm about to take my first sip. I haven't actually tried this year's yet, so I'm looking forward to it. It's very strong berry on the nose, a ton of berry.
Can't wait for the Cobbler King's impression.
Yeah, before the virtual happy hour, we did get a comparative lesson in cobbler versus pie. So excited to hear
really
what the expert.
Everybody needs that. And luckily, Jeremy's not here to argue with me about it. So you just have to take it as fact. But yeah, this is very fruit forward. The boysenberry is definitely prominent. I know we added cinnamon and vanilla to this. The vanilla obviously kicks up the sweetness a little bit, and the cinnamon kind of imitates that pie spice. I'm not sure what's in it. Maybe it's just the cinnamon, but there's something in here that's kind of mimicking that crust flavor as well. But yeah, this is very kind of spot on. I feel like this is even better than last year. I think this is very, very berry forward, whereas last year I remember it being maybe I got a little more like chocolate out of it. Obviously, there's no chocolate added, but the chocolate from the roasty chocolate flavor from the stout component. And this year, it's just like punches you in the face with that boysenberry. It's really good. It's fruity. It's spectacular. I like it a lot.
Absolutely. And boysenberries, so we were chatting about this earlier, are definitely, it's not a fruit or berry that a lot of folks are familiar with, and it's very, very Southern California. So our local boysenberry expert, Megan, is going to do the drunk history of the berry for us as she enjoys some.
It's so good, you guys. It really tastes like Mrs. Knott's boysenberry pie, but like boozy, it like what adults want. Okay, so the boysenberry is a really wild berry. It's a combination of raspberry, blackberry, dewberry, and loganberry. You can only find it in California, New Zealand, and Oregon, but New Zealand is the biggest supplier of all of the boysenberries. So the boysenberries, they can be traced back to Rudolph Boysen, who's this like farmer dude who had a farm in the early 1900s in Anaheim. And he grew boysenberries. He got like involved in a bunch of experiments, like cloning all these berries together. And the USDA got wind of it. And they sent this guy named George Darrow out to like find out what's happening with these boysenberries. And George Darrow was like, I don't know, shit. And he was like, I'm going to like find some kind of berry expert. And so he enlisted Walter Knott, who is some berry farmer from Buena Park who like called himself a berry expert. And they were like, okay, dude, let's find out what's happening with boysenberries. So the great boysenberry search was on. It turns out Rudolph Boysen sold his berry farm, and they had to trespass onto like some other farmer's property to find boysenberries. And they like hiked through all these brambles and weeds and found some like a few salvageable vines. He found a few. And so he took them back to his farm in Buena Park. And he was like, I'm going to make these wonderful berries and I'm going to sell these. And by the 1940s, he had them. He was selling them. And his wife was like, there's some people that are coming through like in their covered wagons. They were not covered wagons, you guys. They were cars back then. And they like drove
1940s
through, got
seems
themselves
accurate.
some pies. She learned how to cook herself some fried chicken. They knocked it out of the park, and now we have Knott's Berry Farm, and now we have this. And so about 600 acres in California are devoted to boysenberries.
I feel like that deserves a slow clap. We need drunk history of all of our beers from here on out, guys. New YouTube series coming at you.
I'm ready.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And you've actually grown some boysenberries yourself, haven't you, Megan?
Yes.
Really successfully.
Yes. Not successfully, in fact. Boysenberries are really fickle, it turns out, and they're really like, oh God, they're so needy, and I don't have the time to devote to all those needs, and so they all got fungus. Short story, like I can't grow shit. So those plants behind me, my roommate did all those. I can't grow shit. So my boysenberries all faltered. That's why I go to Knott's Berry Farm and eat their delicious boysenberries. Drink our delicious boysenberry beer.
Maybe you gotta water your boysenberries with our delicious beer, and they might grow better. Then they'll be happier.
Shreyas, where were you all my life?
Right?
You better grow, or that's just a waste of beer.
So what's everyone's favorite iteration of the bakery series? Are we going to say it's boysenberry pie? Is that?
Man.
I know we've got a lot to choose from.
Been a lot. We even had some draft only ones. I think that the boysenberry is really good.
There was a Black Tuesday.
It's spot on. What was that?
Was there a Black Tuesday boysenberry variant? Is that what we were?
I think that Sunday has boysenberry and vanilla, maybe.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so our Sunday day of the week. But yeah, bakery wise, I mean, the coconut macaroon is hard to do. It was just like we nailed it right out of the gate. That one's really good. I was also personally, I liked oatmeal cookie. The oatmeal raisin cookie one was good. I think that was last year. but yeah, they're great beers. They're easy drinking for a high
For a 10.2.
high-ish ABV stout. That's pretty sessionable for us.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's fair. And Dustin, I know you get the opportunity to kind of taste these as they age. What's been your favorite from the bakery series? Oh, I think you're on mute, man.
Muted.
Yeah. So I think the coconut macaroon is one of my favorites as well. So like the coconut comes across like really strong at first, and really like how it ages with time. Like the coconut mellows out a little bit. The boysenberry is really good, but like the boysenberry is I think a little bit too in your face for me. So I like something a little more balanced, which I get in the coconut macaroon.
Nice.
Does Love Bites count, or is that a little too far? 'Cause that one's pretty great.
I mean, that's part of our monthly.
Yeah.
I mean, now that the pastry stouts are so popular, we've got them coming out every month. But
it's real close, but it's not quite a bakery. So
yeah, I mean, it's a similar though. Like it is a stainless pastry base along with some barrel aged component blended in. So the base to it is very similar in that regard. But I think that Love Bites is maybe. Isn't that like more like a 12%? It's a little bit stronger, maybe a little more.
Yeah, it's a little higher. So, all right.
Shreyas, have you had a chance to sample multiple enough to have a favorite from the group?
I actually do have a favorite, and it's the coconut macaron. And the only reason for that is the day I signed my offer letter with the brewery, right before I graduated, was when I went to the liquor store in Michigan. I managed to find a 4-pack of the Gozes and a 4-pack of the coconut macaron. And
nice.
Yeah, the moment I had those, I knew I'd made a good decision, and that's why like those two were like really close to me. Like they're probably my favorite brewery beers, I'd say, just because they're the first brewery beers I've ever had, and they just mean a lot to me personally.
So different too.
Yeah, definitely different. Yeah,
and
looks like
it is also a great beer, so that helps make it a favorite. But of course,
it's a great beer. Yeah,
they're really all great beers. I think that's one of the things that I've been sampling it over the past couple months of basically one of everything we have, and we've got hundreds of beers that we've made. Hundreds come out each year.
Hundreds a year.
Yeah. And I think one consistency for me is that even if it's not a style that I'm drawn towards or, that I'll normally reach for, I still know that when I'm sipping on that, it's the best version of what it can be. And so even if I'm not a huge stout drinker, for example, I know that, the brewery is churning out the best stouts in the world. And so I'm pretty excited to be trying the new boysenberry. Man, it's hard to top drunk history, Megan. Looks like we did get some comments. A lot of people love the coconut macaroon and then blueberry muffin. That's one I haven't had yet. That sounds delicious.
That's actually that's my brother, and I know for a fact he has not had blueberry muffin. So he just
lie teller.
Yeah.
Just wants you to send him stuff.
Oh goodness. Again, as somebody who's new here, only been 3 months, but it feels like so much longer, and that sounds bad, but I mean it in the best way possible. What's been some of your guys' favorite memories at the brewery so far?
Oh man, been so many. I've been here too long. Maybe some of the fresher faces should tackle this one first. I'll have to think about it.
All right, let's put Dustin on the spot. Dustin, what's been your favorite brewery memory so far?
I think my favorite's like kind of a recent one. We're working on some new kind of donut beers, and we had to kind of learn how to make caramel. So we could not find a usable form of caramel, so we kind of had to make our own. And I can just remember like walking in the back alley, like out of the corner of my eye, I just see like our head brewer, our like director of operations from the Chiru facility, just like it looks like they're just churning butter in like a massive pot. I'm just like, all right, like what is happening right now? Yeah.
Shreyas too.
it's just interesting, like the hoops we have to jump through to get some of these flavors in the beer, and like the willingness of the employees to do so.
Well, and I think that goes back to the quality message of, we weren't able to find a good, not gluten-free. What were we going for?
Vegan
caramel. We didn't have a good vegan caramel to source, so we decided to make it. That is just wild. And yeah, we've got some good stories from that day with Shreyas stirring that. How was that experience? It did not look easy.
It was all right. It was pretty labor intensive, but I feel like we did a pretty good job, and we ended up with some pretty nice caramel by the end of the day, and a lot of it too. So it turned out well. And I feel like that's a lot of what it is about the industry in general, is that like you tell a brewer what the end goal is, and like they just figure out a way to get there, and like you just gotta make do with what you have, and you gotta get there, and like the end result is what really makes all of it worth it. Like we could slave away at a beer all day long, but like that moment when it's in the tasting room and you can go get a pour of it is really what, like, personally for me makes it. And I felt the same way with the caramel. Like it was a lot of hard work, but to get to taste it at the end of the day and like to put it in the tank, like, yeah, it makes it all worth it.
Absolutely. Well, and since we're on the subject, I feel like I should poll the group. Do we say caramel or caramel? What's everyone's thoughts and feelings on it? This might divide some folks.
It's caramel, and Ruby.
It's caramel, and everyone else is wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wait for the other guy to say it, and like I just copy whatever they're saying. So
it's not a big part of my life, so you call it whatever you want. I'll go with you.
It's not like pecans versus pecans.
It's pecans. We know
pecans,
that.
And everyone else is wrong on that as well.
Yeah, it's definitely pecans.
Also, yeah.
And then we got a question: is it coconut macaron or coconut macaroon?
So the beer is inspired by macaroon. I won't call anyone out, but we did have the unfortunate incident once of putting a macaron in the photo with it, but it's definitely macaroon. So coconut macaroon is what inspired this beer.
That sounds like a marketing mistake. blame marketing.
No, we don't make mistakes. Don't blame us.
But macaroons is what the inspiration was.
Yes.
Nice.
It could be a macaron. I'm not sure that beer would taste much different. But it's definitely inspired by macaroon.
Excellent. One thing that I did want to bring up in this conversation is obviously our anniversary. Like we talked about earlier, we weren't able to get together for our 12th year last year. Huge bummer. And we are just all itching to get back together for year 13. So we do have some celebrations in mind coming up in July. It'll be 2 weekends, July 17th and 18th, and then the 24th and 25th, with 2 sessions on the Saturdays, 1 session on Sunday. We're getting more info out to you guys at ASAP, and we've got our webpage up for it and everything. So visit our.
We let members know today. And members will have the ability to start buying tickets Monday. And then we're also going to let the public come out. I mean, everybody wants to finally come out and do something. So they'll, I think a week and a half or so later, we'll open it up to public. But members definitely get first dibs.
Absolutely. So we're excited to see everybody. It's going to be awesome. July. Everyone's going to want to be outside, and we've got some really tasty beers lined up for everyone. So check out our webpage. We'll have a save the date for that opening up to the mass public. Again, in a little bit, we're going to have a trivia round where you'll be able to win tickets before anybody else has access. So really excited for that. 2 tickets.
2 whole tickets.
Hey, that's a high value prize.
No, I'm saying they're getting full tickets. They're not getting half tickets.
Oh yeah, we're not giving out like DD tickets. These are going to be full fledged.
General admission, full on, have fun.
So keep an eye out for our anniversary plans. We're really excited. We're going to get those out on social media very soon. So keep an eye out. In the meantime, I was wondering if we had any questions from the audience that we could kind of field for you. Uh-oh, we lost Shreyas. Everyone judged Shreyas for leaving. Boo. Yeah, let's get some questions up here. You try a beer on the pilot system, it doesn't work out. So let's read this out loud. When you try a beer on the pilot system and it doesn't work out, how often do you try it again a different way? And how often do you decide it's not going to work and never mind? That's a great question. Dustin maybe would be the person to answer that one.
So we put all of our new pilots through the same sensory program that everything else is run through. And it's really a matter, like every beer is a little bit different. So it's a matter of like how much potential we think a beer has. I'd say we're willing to try at least 3 different iterations if we think a beer like really has legs to make it to a production batch. You know, sometimes we just swing and miss, and we'll put something through and it ends up in that tasting room, and like none of us really have any interest in progressing it further. But if we think it can go somewhere, like we are definitely willing to try and fail again and pursuing that.
And I think the cool thing with the pilot system as well is, I mean, sometimes we do beers on there with absolutely 100% no intent of ever letting that beer go anywhere. We're trialing hops, or we're trialing cacao nibs, or whatever it happens to be. We want to see what these things are doing to our beer, how they taste. And, you know, we have no intention of serving it in the tasting room or put it into any kind of package. It's just kind of our playground to see what things do to our beer, see how things taste, as well as, you know, trial future projects and dial those in.
Absolutely. And, you know, you look at something like drifting, which started off like as a terroir project and looking at different hops. And now it's what we all reach for at the end of the day, really. And then, you know, an example like the seltzers, threw that on the pilot system, and some of us loved them and sold out pretty quickly. So so fast. We couldn't even take growlers home, and we wanted them. Bless you.
Oh, excuse me.
But it's just, you know, there's always something new on that system, and it's so exciting to see how many beers get pumped out. And we've got some exciting pilot beers set to be released in the next week or so at our Done tasting room. So keep an eye on social for what those will be. Yeah, just trying to get you guys new and exciting stuff. Do we have another question from the audience? I'm seeing all kinds of great questions.
Yeah, I really like the pilot system too. Like, I think Connor was spot on when he said it's like our playground, because so many times at Tarot as well, when we just have some surplus of a beer, we really do like to play around with it. If you visit our tasting rooms right now, we have the Citrulus Tarot on tap, and yeah, that was
Great
just
beer. I tried that last week. It's really
It
good.
was really good. It was just some surplus Humulus Tarot that we couldn't fit into our tank, so we put it in a pilot tank, and yeah, decided to add some lavender and orange peel to it, and it blew all of our minds. So
Really good.
Yeah, that's a good sign when we can blow our own minds.
Yeah, right.
All right. What other? Oh, so we've got some anniversary questions. We'll definitely get those answered for you. We'll be reaching out with those answers. Do we have any other hop or beer questions? Looks like Neil has asked, are there any adjunct ingredients that prove especially difficult to work with?
Yeah.
Dustin and Shreyas.
Yeah, I think I know we talked about the caramel just a moment ago, but the whole reasoning behind that was that we tried this vegan caramel out, and it just would not dissolve into the bench trial. So we tried out on an extremely small scale in the lab first, and we just couldn't get it to dissolve. There were just chunks floating around, and we left it on for days, and it just wouldn't go anywhere. So
The word chunks should never enter the conversation.
You can't do it. Can't do it. Yeah.
Well, and the reason behind the vegan caramel, so we might not have gone into that. This donut box project, which we'll be releasing more info about very, very soon. We're really stoked about it. In honor of National Donut Day coming up in June, we did a partnership with 4 different donut experts from California and then one in DC to do donut inspired beers. And that particular donut with one of our partners was a vegan donut. So we wanted to match that and get a vegan caramel to go on there. So again, it's just trying to be true to brand and working with our partners in the best way possible. So you'll get some of those boxes very, very soon. We're excited to get those out there.
I do have one more ingredient that left me particularly scarred. Is working with fresh figs or dried figs. So they don't actually sell a fig puree because it's too difficult to blend on a commercial level. So you have to chop them up by hand. And they're basically just these fruits full of glue. So every time you chop it, your knife is getting duller and duller with each fig. And eventually you just end up with a butter knife and you're sitting there trying to do hundreds of pounds of figs and get them into this tank. And that question really brought back some memories of me sitting at a bench and just hand cutting hundreds of pounds of figs.
All right. Well, between the glue and the chunks, Dustin, this is why we don't have you in marketing.
No. Yeah.
I guess I can add to that because I think it was my second week here, or my first week even maybe, and I spent maybe I was slicing vanilla beans and scraping them and adding them to barrels for 9 hours a day, and as tedious as that was, I guess it brings me back to the end result always justifies all the hard work, at least in my head. And also as a cellarman, I don't know, I just absolutely hate any beer with pecan meal or almond meal in it because you have to clean that tank when it's done. And one of my worst memories with this company is probably again my first couple of weeks. I was dumping out pecan meal from a tank with one of my coworkers, and we filled up probably 4 50-gallon drums, and it just wouldn't stop. And that's what we were doing all day, and it was messy everywhere. And it's just a pain to deal with after the beer is out of that tank, which is why I personally don't like those ingredients, and it makes it hard to deal for me.
Well, you earned your shift beers at the end of that day, that's for sure.
Sounds like it.
Were there any other questions that we wanted to answer? Looks like Chris has asked, do you see differences in hop utilization year to year? Are these years Amarillo working differently than last year's?
Oh, interesting.
That's a good question.
So I guess like any other crop, you are going to see a lot of variation from field to field. But when you work with a hop supplier, they do their best when they're palletizing to give you the same average throughout. So if you're buying, say, Amarillo, the Amarillo you buy last year, at least as far as alpha acids go, it's going to be similar to the one you buy this year. So they do blend the fields together, but of course, it is a plant, so you do see some variations. I'm not sure how specific that would be to brewing with them, how different it would be to brew from last year's Amarillo to this year's Amarillo. But
I think,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's why hop selection is so important. When the brewers go up there right before harvest and rub the hops and kind of find the ones that they think are have the features they're looking for, because like Shreya said, one flavor component of it may pop out more in one batch than another. There's always going to be variance.
Absolutely. So there's just so many variables there too. If you have a field where a tractor was in there way more times than it was supposed to be, you can actually smell the diesel from those hops. And there's just so many variables at play there. But I feel between hop selection and the hop supplier actually palletizing them, I feel they do their best to control them. But again, there's only so much you can do when it's a naturally grown plant.
Absolutely. And I know, like Shreya said, I know our team does the best they can to keep things as consistent as possible. within our whatever's within our capabilities. Do we have let's do one more question, then we'll get into some trivia. All right. Oh, Connor, is this your brother again?
That is actually my brother.
This is an advertisement.
I didn't make the beer. I do have an answer for this. I obviously didn't make the beer, but we did the first time we did sour in the rye, pineapple and coconut. It was a tasting room only, like small batch pilot release, and it was really, really good. I was actually a member back then. I didn't work here, and it still goes down as like one of my favorite beers of all time. I think when I tried it, I went to the tasting room after the anniversary event, and that was probably a mistake. But I went to the event. I went to the tasting room, and that beer was really, really good. And it was actually, I want to say it was either 2017 or 18. I think 2017. It was supposed to be an included beer. We were going to remake it on a large scale, and the beer just didn't come out. It wasn't the way we wanted it at all. And it's one of those things like we talked about earlier. We always try to make the absolute best beer possible, and if we decide it's not up to snuff, it's not. We're not going to release it. We're not going to give it to people when it's subpar. And so that one just unfortunately didn't work out. But it was an included beer last year, and we finally were able to reproduce it on a large scale. And I thought last year was great. It was an included beer last year as well, and I think it was really well received. But that's probably the one that pops out to me is like, we were really excited to bring it back, and it just didn't come out the way we wanted. But we've done it since then, and it was great.
That's awesome. Anyone else want to chime in with that one? No? Is it time for trivia?
Trivia.
All right. I'm a huge trivia nerd, so I got really excited about this. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to ask 3 questions. You're going to answer in the comments and just, it's a free for all. It's not who's first. You answer in the comments. We're going to collect all of the correct answers, and then we're going to draw a name from that group to be the winner of this. So if you answer all 3 correctly, that's 3 entries. If you answer 2 of them correctly, that's 2. If you answer 1 of them correctly, that's 1. So answer in the comments. Put those in there, and then we will announce, we'll get all this data together, and we'll be reaching out to the winner either tomorrow or Monday. So I am excited to see how this goes. So our first question, I'm going easier to harder. First question, if you visited our Done tasting room, you have seen the beautiful silo sitting outside, right outside the front door. What important beer ingredient lives in that silo? Beer has some pretty basic ingredients in it, and one of them,
boysenberries.
It's not boysenberries.
I learned that earlier today.
That would be a very messy silo. Have fun cleaning that.
So what important beer ingredient is stored in our lovely brewery silo right outside of our Done tasting room? I wish I had some Jeopardy music for you. Yes, and if you're gonna, yep. All right, so we'll give you guys a few more seconds to get your answers in.
We've got some responses in there.
Yeah.
Some people may or may not be entered. We'll see.
Yeah. And we're not going to tell you right now if you're right or not. We're going to
chaotic answers.
Yeah, gather these answers together, and we'll announce the winner of the 2 passes to our anniversary party for July. Again, either tomorrow or Monday. All right, moving on to question number 2. Again, these are getting progressively harder, and I'm not sure even this whole group knows all the answers. So question number 2, if we want to put that up on the screen, Taru is celebrating its 6th anniversary this year, as some of y'all may know, and is home to our lovely oak fooders. Approximately how many barrels of liquid can our largest fooders hold? How many barrels of liquid can our largest fooders hold?
1 barrel.
It is not 1 barrel.
Oh, we're not playing Prices Right rules.
It is decidedly more than that.
It's more than 2?
It is more than 2.
And that was my answer.
How many fooders total do we have? We've got a couple different sizes. And
we
how
have
many total?
9 footers, I believe.
Yeah.
9. All right.
Yeah, 2 of the biggest ones, and then
How
some
many
wine,
different
wine
sizes?
fooders. 3 sizes.
3 sizes.
And so this question is asking about the 2 biggest. How many barrels of liquid can they hold? So we'll give everyone a couple seconds to get their answers in for that one. It's a tricky one. And if you don't know the answer, it sounds like you need to come visit us at Teru, enjoy some beers, and maybe get a little behind the scenes peek into what we're working with.
Ask Shreyas for a tour.
Heck yeah. Shreyas would be happy to give you a tour.
You can actually see one of those footers from the tasting room, the big ones.
Yeah, you can. Do we need to let people know how big a barrel is, just in case they're not sure?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, a barrel is, it's pretty big. It's 42 gallons.
31.
31.
31. That's a
oil barrels are
puncheon,
different,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
It's a weird
big
unit.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, beer barrel.
And this is more than 1. Awesome. All right. Well, looks like we've got some answers in for that. And then moving on to the 3rd and final trivia question. Patrick Brew, our fearless founder, went to college for a little bit and studied a very different subject from what he ended up doing when he escaped to a life of beer. What subject did Patrick Brew study in college before turning to beer?
Be some fun answers here, if people don't know.
Yeah, if nobody gets it right, maybe the most fun answer I'll put in the pot for a raffle. PG rated,
to see what people say.
PG rated.
You're most creative if you don't know.
Yeah. Awesome. It's so funny. A lot of us start off in a different field than where we end up. And I think once we get into beer, a lot of us are lifers. So I'm sure even the folks on this call started off in something totally different from where we are now. Obviously, Shreyas, you were pretty close to graduating. So
I was actually studying computer science for 2 years before I started drinking beer.
Same thing.
I was a bus driver in Alaska before I learned about beer. We all have our
ice road trucker.
Yeah, exactly, but less glamorous. We all have our paths.
Well, you've definitely upgraded in the glamorous scale. Connor, what were you studying before you got into beer?
In school or in professional, like working?
Both.
It's been a long, winding path. I went to school. I got my bachelor's in marketing, surprisingly, and then I got a master's degree in anthropology. Kind of the same thing, And then from there, while I was in school, I worked mostly in restaurants, which is where some of my baking experience comes from. Kind of front of the house, back of the house. I've done everything there is to do in a restaurant and or a bar. And then immediately before coming to the brewery, I was working in retail. So I went from customer service, restaurant work to retail work, and then came to the brewery and kind of put my passion of craft brewing and craft beer together with my professional life. So yeah, a lot of stuff that ultimately added up to what I'm doing now.
And Dustin, how about you?
I studied physics in college, so that's my degree. And then I was doing
chemistry.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of research and development for like concrete and then jet fuel. And both of those things are pretty hazardous to your health. So I figured beer was probably a much more fun medium to work with.
Super less hazardous to your health.
Have not looked back since. It's a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable to be around, and great people.
I too studied physics. So Dustin, you and I need to have a nerdy conversation one of these days. Both ended up in craft beer. Love it.
Yeah.
So we've got, a good selection of answers in from these trivia. So we're going to combine them all, and we'll be reaching out with some winners again within the next day or two for a pair of tickets to our anniversary party in July. I think that about sums it up. This was a blast to hang out with you guys. Again, this is really just a virtual version of what we do a few days a week at the brewery, sharing some beers together. So thank you all for joining, and thank you, audience, for joining us as well. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And cheers. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy American Craft Beer Week, guys.
Have fun. Enjoy.
Have a good one.
Cheers, guys.